Hi everyone, I am Elias Sarantopoulos, your instructor for this training video, and welcome. Affinity Canva was released, so I wanted to show you how to use the pen tool. We're going to start with straight segments, but then we're going to cover more complicated curves. You can also download the exercise file in the event that you want to follow along with this training video. If you wish to learn more about the pen tool inside Affinity Canva and learn how to draw more complicated shapes, let me know below the comments section. In Affinity Canva and before practicing with the pen tool, I will configure a few settings and options. First, inside the Snapping's Options panel, under the Object Snapping, I will enable the Snap to Object geometry for path alignment and snapping to visible curves and paths. Now, to prevent distractions from other layers while using the pen tool, you see here we've got multiple layers. I'll set the candidates to immediate layers, which will restrict snapping to the current selected layer. Lastly, if you like to use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out, inside the Settings panel and under the Tools, just make sure that the Use Mouse Wheel to Zoom is enabled. Alright, so we are working inside the Straight Lines and Open Path. Just be mindful of these two layers, which they are locked, and make sure that you're right here. I'll grab the pen tool from the vertical toolbar and make sure there is no fill color, so I will disable that. We just need to have a stroke. Alright, so I'll go ahead and zoom in here and click once for the first anchor points. Now, when using the pen tool in Affinity Canva, holding the Shift key reveals a visual yellow guide, which is ideal for precise angular control. So this is the first visual guide. Press the Shift key. Right here, I'm going to click to create the second anchor point. For the third anchor point, nice and slow, I'm going to move right there. And as you can see, we get another visual guide coming from the Snap to Object geometry. So while pressing the Shift key, I'll click again. I'll continue this, pressing the Shift key and looking for the red guide. Still pressing the Shift key and looking for the red guide as well. Click again, Shift click, and Shift click. And as you can see, when I disable the visibility of the graphic here, we've got a perfect open path with straight lines. Moving forward to the next example, we've got straight lines with a closed path. That means I would toggle off the visibility of the first layer, toggle on the visibility of the second layer, and just make sure that you're working on this layer right here, since inside that we've got a couple of locked layers. Once again, I grab the pen tool, I'll zoom in a bit here, and then click once for the first anchor point, and then press the Shift key to enable the visual yellow line for precise angular control. So right here, I'm going to click again. So Shift click, Shift click, Shift click, Shift click, continue pressing the Shift click all around, Shift click as well, and to close the path, I will hover over the very last anchor point, and that shows the path symbol, which is a circle next to the pen tool. All I have to do is click once to close the path. And looking at the overall shape here, we've got a perfect closed path with straight lines. The combining curves with straight lines is a more challenging example and a couple of ways how to do that. Alright, so I'll go ahead and zoom in a bit here, grab the pen tool, and then right here we're going to click and drag upwards to create a smooth point, and at the same time press the Shift key on the keyboard to constrain the angle and release that. I'll go right across, press the Shift key, and then click and drag downwards to complete the first curve. Alright, so what comes next basically is a straight segment. That means we don't need this Bezier handle coming out of this node. So to convert this smooth point to a corner point, all we have to do is hover over the anchor point till we see the slope or the forward slash of the pen tool, and then click once. I'll go right across, press the Shift key, and click once. Now we've got a curve coming up, which means we're going to need a Bezier handle coming out of this node. And the way we're going to do that is by pressing the Alt key or the Option key, hover over the anchor point here, and that changes the cursor to a delta shape icon. Now, this delta icon simply indicates that we are in the mode to convert the node into a smooth node. So pressing Alt Option, I'll click and drag, and at the same time press Shift key to constrain the angle here and pull out a control handle. I'll release that, go right across, press Shift key, and then click and drag upwards to complete the curve. I'll release that, and what comes next basically is a straight segment. That means we're going to convert this from a smooth point to a corner point by clicking once, go right across, press the Shift key, and click. Once again, we've got a curve coming up, which means we're going to need a Bezier handle coming out of this node. So Alt Option, click and drag, and then press the Shift key on the keyboard to constrain the angle. Right there, then go right across, press the Shift key, click and drag downwards, and complete the curve. So this is the first way how to combine curves with straight lines. Another way how to combine curves with straight lines is using the pen tool and keyboard shortcuts in one take. So I'll grab the pen tool and then right here click and drag to create a smooth point. At the same time, I'm going to press the Shift key on the keyboard to control the angle and continue pressing the Shift key. I'll go right across, click and drag downwards to create this nice curve. Still pressing the Shift key in order to break the link between those two handles. I'll press and hold the Alt key or the Option key, so that will be Alt Shift Option Shift, and that will allow me to move this new control handle independent from the previous one. So I'll go right across here, still pressing Alt Shift Option Shift, and then click and drag downwards to get the Bezier handle since a curve is coming up. I'll go right across just by pressing the Shift key and then click and drag upwards for the curve. I'll continue with Alt Shift Option Shift since we have a straight path coming up, and then click and drag upwards to get the Bezier handle out, and continue right across just pressing the Shift key on the keyboard to complete the last curve path. And that is the second way how to combine curves with straight lines in one take. Here we've got multiple curves and we can complete that in one take. I'll grab the pen tool and then click and drag upwards to create a smooth point. At the same time, press the Shift key on the keyboard to constrain the angle. Without releasing the Shift key, I'll go right across, click and drag downwards to create the first curve path. Still pressing the Shift key, I'll go right across right here, click and drag upwards to create another curve, and then still pressing the Shift key, go right across, click and drag downwards to complete the curve path. In this example, we've got curves with corner points. Here's the curve, here's the corner point. Curve and corner points. I'll grab the pen tool and then click and drag to create the smooth points. At the same time, press the Shift key on the keyboard to constrain the angle and continue pressing the Shift key. I'll go right across and just click once and release. Alright, so what we have here basically is a curve coming up. That means we're going to need a Bezier handle coming out of this node. So that will be Alt Option, click and drag, and press the Shift key on the keyboard to constrain the angle. And then continue, go right across just by pressing the Shift key and then click once. Once again, we have a curve coming up. That means we're going to need to have a Bezier handle here coming out of this node. So it will be Alt Option, and then as we drag, we're also going to press the Shift key on the keyboard to constrain the angle. Go right across only by pressing the Shift key and click once. And that's one way how to create curves with corner points. So here's another example combining curves with corner points, a bit more challenging than the previous one, but we can do this in one take combining the pen tool with the keyboard shortcuts. I'll grab the pen tool, and then right here I'll click and drag to create a smooth point. At the same time, press the Shift key on the keyboard to constrain the angle. Still pressing the Shift key, I'll go right across, click and drag downwards to create a nice curve path. And in order to break the link between those two handles, I'll press and hold Alt or Option, and that will allow me to move this new control handle independent from the previous one. So I will position this handle here right on top of the previous one, and then continue going to the other side. Only by pressing the Shift key, I will click and drag downwards to complete the curve. Once again, we're going to use Alt Shift Option Shift, position this handle right on top of the other one. Go right across only by pressing the Shift key to click and drag downwards to create a nice curve. Alt Shift Option Shift, position this handle right on top of the other one. Go right across and just pressing the Shift key, click and drag downwards to finish the curve path.